Climbers, terrestrial radio wants a law that forces automakers to provide AM radio in all vehicles moving forward. What does this mean exactly? That's what we're going to get into right now, and I don't think it's good.
Mm.
Welcome to the climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. People, leverage is how all your hopes and dreams are going to come true. You got to prove that you know what you're doing and that what you're doing has value. And then everyone you want to work with is going to come out of the woodwork to work with you. And we're trying to teach you how to do it, give you the big picture and some of the specifics right here on this podcast now. C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. It's a Baxternym from a good friend and my co-host, who's also a hit songwriter, Brent Baxter. He's got cuts by artists like Lady A, Joe Nichols, Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, and more. He's got number ones in Southern Gospel. He's got top tens in Australia. He's got top tens on Texas radio. The man is worldwide. But what you care about is that he's trying to help songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and on the regular, he is going to introduce you to the pros to give you that opportunity to start making those relationships like our new friend of the show, Tom Douglas, did when he played Little Rock for Paul Worley at a songwriter seminar down in Austin, Texas, way back when. So
That's
you can
right.
find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com.
And I had nothing to do with that Tom Douglas hit, by the way. That's just like that. But anyway, I haven't been around that long. I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. It's complicated, but he's smart. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production, singular, no S, and there's no S because there is no other. Johnny D.
Dude, is the bottom going to fall out of radio?
Well, I'm looking. I don't see a bottom.
Oof. I'll tell you what, I read this article and I mean, you know me, like my spidey sense just went off. I was like, wow, this is insane. This is
I feel like Kevin McAllister looking at Buzz's girlfriend. Woof.
yeah.
In Home Alone.
That's it. So I mean, hey, we got a lot going on in the news. The law passed. Biden signed it into law. ByteDance officially has less than a year to either
Divest.
sell TikTok, which it seems right now that they don't want to do, but those are the headlines. You never know what that means. Or it will be banned. So that's interesting. We'll keep you up to date on that as it unfolds.
Yep, for sure.
But you know what? Before we get into this, this episode today is just about an article I read in Digital Music News about a couple lawmakers have proposed some legislation in Washington, D.C. that would force automakers to continue providing AM radio in all new vehicles. And the reason is, whenever they make a law, they got to put a spin on it, and they got to pick a marginalized group to make you feel good about it, right? That it's going to help. So
yeah,
they're saying, like if something happens and the power and the cell towers go out, then people in communities, and of course, then they said specifically people in like rural communities, which to me just means they're probably saying like, poor people in rural communities are going to need AM radio to be able to get news, weather, and traffic. So there's so much to unpack from this.
Okay.
that I couldn't pass it up. So that's what we're going to get into today. Before we do that, let's take care of a little business. Join the C.L.I.M.B community on Facebook. Just go search for groups on Facebook and put in the C.L.I.M B community. You'll find us right away. Or you can go to facebook.com/groups/the C.L.I.M B community. You have to ask to be let in. We let everybody in unless you look suspect. And God, dude, like 8. I bounced 8 out last week that were just did not look legit. And if you got bounced out, if you requested to get in and you're legit in the last 2 weeks, and you and this is May 1st that we're recording this, guy. So it's say in the last 3 weeks, because it'll drop on Tuesday.
Or
But
ever. Just DM Johnny.
it's just, yeah, or ever, yeah. Just DM me and let me know you're legit, because some of them looked like this is all just sales stuff or whatever, and they're
Yeah.
getting really really good at how, like, they're using AI or something to make them look like the kind of people we want in the group.
Oh
But
yeah.
but I'm not perfect at uncovering you know uncovering the spammers and stuff. So if I bounce you out, it's because you look like that, and if I did it accidentally, you got to let me know. We'll let you in. Okay. So we, in the climb community, man, we're celebrating your music. We celebrate your gigs. We want to hear about all your wins, and that's our favorite one on New
Mm-hmm.
Heights on Wednesday on a post, and we'd like to share them on the show. So Brent, what do we got?
Yeah, so every Wednesday we got the new heights, is where we encourage you to share your wins so we can celebrate with you. And we don't have time to list all of them, but here's one from climber Bill O'Hanlon. Says a Christian country artist who is releasing my song "Wasted Prayers" reached out to me for other songs, and it looks like he's hot on at least two more. Got the connection via Brent, so that's awesome. Yeah, I remember that. It was through a I think a Pro Connect event through Songwriting Pro. Bill's a member over there, and the industry pro was interested in Wasted Prayers, got to an artist who apparently wants to hear more. So that's awesome, Bill. And let's see here. We got another one here. Let me see. Oh, where'd it go? I'm getting to it. All right. We got another one here. It says climber Kelly JD says, wrote this one with the artist Brett Bone and Bennett Bost. Sounds like I should be in that group. Some young guns in Nashville. Streaming pretty decent so far. It's a song called I Love You Back. Sounds like I should be in that group because of the alliteration on the whole Brent Baxter, Brett Bone, Bennett Bost. Maybe it's meant to be. I
Yeah,
don't know. But anyway, either way, Kelly and Bill, congrats and keep on climbing.
love it. Way to go, Kelly and Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
All right, so let's get into it. So
All right.
radio.
So yeah. So first of all, when I read just the headline, you talk about like winning before you're spinning with a song title, right? I read
Yeah.
that headline, and 50 things came at me, because I'm trying to look for the article right now, but I don't need it. I've talked about it so much now. Um, but I wanted to put the link up for you guys to. I might have already put it in the client community, but
Yeah. And it'd be in the show
hey,
notes. So
let me reiterate what the news is, and then let's start to unpack like what this means. Okay.
okay.
So there's a couple congressmen that have put forth some legislation that will require automakers to continue to provide AM radio in in new automobiles moving forward. And this needs to be done, according to them, because people in communities, and especially people in rural communities, if the power and the cell towers go out, how are they going to get information, vital information, right?
Mm-hmm.
For weather and news and traffic, stuff like that. So right off the bat, I was triggered by several different things. Okay. Number one is, um, why is there got to be a law for that?
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of is that, so auto manufacturers are planning on not producing new vehicles
Precisely.
with
That's
AM
it.
radio
Right there.
capability, right?
So clearly there's more than one. That's like, why aren't they doing, why would that be it? Right. We're going to get into that in a sec.
Yeah, I mean, not that I put it past Congress to try and pass a law about a problem that's not a problem,
Of- that's
but
exactly what Congress is great at. We
right,
need to spend $3 billion to find out why you don't like your blue jeans after two
yeah.
years. It's important, like
However, in this case, it looks like auto manufacturers are looking at discontinuing AM capability in new
which would
vehicles,
mean FM too,
FM as well.
radio,
Ooh,
terrestrial
okay,
radio.
so just
They're discontinuing
radio.
terrestrial radio, right?
All right.
Or they're talking about now. Then the other thing was um, the smoke and mirrors part of it, because we've got states like California that already have EV mandates in place.
Mm-hmm.
And the Biden administration for sure is pushing hardcore towards EV mandates for the country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I did some research, and in 2024, just to see how old the cars are on the road,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm curious, like once they pass something like that, how long does it take, right?
Yeah.
So in 2024, of all the cars on the road in the United States, that's the only place I looked this up. In 2024, 56% of them, I'm sorry, 80% of them are 20 years old or less,
Okay.
and 56% of them are 10 years old or less.
Okay.
So they passed a law about EV cars, and the vast majority, like 60% of car owners 10 years after that law, will all own electric vehicle cars if it remains a
Well,
law.
however, also the law of people do respond, and I would imagine some people are going to hang on to their car till the wheels fall off if they don't want an EV. They're going to
So,
ride them
okay, there may be an
harder.
anomaly there. You're right, but point being, though, a lot of people are gonna, that the
Mhm.
wheels fall off on the car they want to keep. They're gonna
Eventually,
need to
they
get
got to get
another
another
one.
vehicle. Yeah.
And guess what, y'all? An AM radio and an electric vehicle is just as dead as your damn cell phone if there's no power and no cell service.
Right. Yeah.
That hit me. I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I can guarantee you that what this is, and this led to my third revelation, what this smells like a lobbyist group.
Hmm.
This smells like terrestrial radio is using lobbyists to try to now use legislation to keep to stay relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a technology, a broadcast technology that has dominated for over a century in the United States that all of a sudden now needs to get some laws passed so they
It'll
can
be like
stay
the cable
relevant.
companies saying, we need to pass a law that people still have to have cable and a cable ready equipment in each home because, in case the radio goes out, we got to get our local news through cable
Yeah.
because everybody's
Yeah.
cutting the cable, right?
Yeah.
People aren't using
Yes.
cable like they used to. Same thing. It's the
Exactly.
the horse and buggy people saying, or the whip manufacturers for the horse and buggies going, every new car needs to come equipped with a whip. Your whip
Yeah.
needs a whip because they got to, in case it
You're
breaks down, you got to ride a horse.
Well, I think so. I mean, think just do them. Just think common sense, right? Just common sense. So, I don't know the specifics about on this, guys, what's going behind, but I'm just unpacking like what I read, and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of moving parts to this
Hmm.
that are really crazy and disturbing. Because I'll tell you this, like a couple years ago, we reported on this podcast that the radio was in trouble because the major advertisers, we're talking the
Hmm.
big box advertisers, right? Coca-Cola's, the huge companies, and specifically in terms of country radio, have left.
Hmm.
Okay, why? Because they're really savvy
Yeah.
about radio and about metrics and about marketing, and they understand when something's not working anymore. And there's
Hmm.
only two, and this is a generalization, but there's really only two actual advertisers and three, let's call them entities, two of which are actual advertisers supporting terrestrial radio right now. Because how do they make money? Selling ads, right? And they have to
Right.
have advertisers. So the two big ones for country music are full size trucks and beer, because it's still worth it for them
Yeah, buddy.
to sell. It still works for those two types of products.
And I got to
The
tell you, I
third
don't know why they feel the need to advertise for beer and trucks on country radio because
country
the
radio
the
is an advertisement for beer.
country music is advertising for beer and trucks. So you
Exactly.
can just let Florida Georgia Line and Luke Combs do your advertising for you. But anyway, that's not the point.
That's exactly right. Well,
Right.
and the third entity being the labels, right?
Hmm.
Artificially floating terrestrial radio, because that's the game that they want to play until, to use the words we just did before, till the wheels fall off, right?
Hmm.
But so who's supporting? They're still around. Who what are the other advertisers that are supporting that? I went down this road in my head, and I'm like, it's mid-level companies and local mom and pop companies
Mm-hmm.
that are still advertising on the radio. And if you've ever done, a radio ad, let's say for a live show or something like that as an artist, right? Or if you are, if you got a side hustle with the business and you've been in charge of that, you know how this works. I mean, when I had the mortgage company, we were on, it was a radio show that we
Mm-hmm.
did. That's how we got our leads. And
Yeah.
so I was on, in 5 different markets on, or 5 different stations on 4 different markets up and down the California coast. And what you do is you get, like, you want to know, who are we talking to, right?
Yeah.
Like the demographics. And they're like, well, here's who our listening audience is, and here's their average age, here's how many people are listening,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a piece of paper.
Yeah. That's what
And,
the radio
and even-
station gives you as a
yeah,
potential.
it's a
Yeah.
promise, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a promise. You don't really know.
No.
And of course, I thought about that. I'm like, well, this is funny because, like, I'm gonna go sign this contract, and this could be absolute BS. I have no idea
Yeah.
if I'm getting rolled here or not,
Yeah.
but because there's no way for me to trust but verify, right?
Yeah.
That this is what's going on, except for I know it's on the air, but I don't know how many people are listening to it.
Right.
And demographics matter. I mean, I remember a couple guys from the mortgage office saw the success that we had, and they tried to do their show, and they picked a radio station, and they didn't like read the paper. They just paid the money, and they got like the largest Korean radio station in California. And their whole show's in English, and then nothing happened. You know what I mean? And it was like nobody
Know the
cared.
audience.
And it was like, yeah. So that stuff matters. But so my point being that, like, a smaller mom and pop shop or some of these mid-level companies maybe aren't savvy enough to really understand what's actually happening, and they're
Mm-hmm.
going to buy the pitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, oh, we still have tons of people that are listening. It's great, and it's always this, you guys. It's the same pitch. I've had this conversation 3 times in the last week. Terrestrial radio is never going to go away. People are always going to need it for news, weather,
Mm-hmm.
and traffic, and that doesn't make. And it's the lie they tell themselves. We
Yeah.
don't need it, and short of ham radios or something like that, which
Mm-hmm.
nobody has unless you're an enthusiast. When the power goes out, man, the electric vehicles, everybody's going to be in the dark. So
Yeah.
this isn't about that. Don't let that spin fool you. This is about something else. And here it is. What the small advertisers and the mid-level advertisers do know for certain is where radio is mostly consumed.
Mm-hmm.
And where's that?
In the car.
In the car.
Right.
So they're still on the hook. They're still buying it. They're obviously getting some results. I'm sure they're probably scratching their heads and not exactly sure how well it's working. But I mean, how many times have we talked about, Daredevil out promoting promoters
Mm-hmm.
for concerts and selling more tickets than damn promoters did, because we're doing stuff digitally and not the radio.
Yeah.
Um, it's fascinating, but imagine the headline coming out: GM's going to stop putting terrestrial radio in their cars moving forward. That would be it. That would be the final nail in the coffin,
Mm-hmm.
because now I'm not believing the sales guy at the radio station anymore. I don't have to believe him, because if it ain't going to be in the cars, it's not going to help me. It's not going to help
Yeah.
my company. I'm not going to pay for the advertising, and then it's over, right? Then
Yeah.
the lie is like over. Now, who is in the free market and who doesn't need legislation to help them sell their product? Is automakers.
Okay.
So we have legislation right now. This is real in Congress. Whether it makes it to law or not, I don't know, but I think it's enough already that it's being pushed, that is going to essentially force automakers to supply terrestrial radio in their vehicle products.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they write legislation like that? Because there's automakers that are thinking about not doing it. Why are the automakers thinking about not doing it?
Because they know that people aren't listening to radio in the cars. So therefore, it's not a value add feature.
Yeah, it's not something that people want. They know what
Mhm.
their customers want.
Well, you know what? New cars don't have also in them
CD player.
eight
Mhm.
tracks, CD
Cassette.
players, cassette tape players. They don't have that either. That went away. Why? Because people stopped using that. They stopped doing tape decks when people moved to CD. They stopped doing 8 tracks when people moved to cassette tapes.
Huh?
They just phased them out. No
Yep.
laws. They stopped doing cassette tapes when CDs became ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
No laws. They just why? Because this is what our customers want. This is what they value. They stopped doing CD players and they got a little aux port. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm plugging in my phone
Yep. Because I'm plugging in my
or
phone.
my what is it, the iPod, then my
Well,
phone or
yeah,
whatever,
that came out in the iPod came out in what, 2001, 2002,
I don't remember.
2003, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And I mean, 10 years later, it didn't take long, man.
Hmm.
They're dialing it in.
Yeah.
So, guys, like this is serious because the whole industry right now is still chasing radio because that's
Hmm.
what they know how to do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that was a drum hit. Did you hear that?
That
Like that
was a
was
drum hit. I don't know where that came from.
it's on the app for Zencaster. I just dropped my glasses on the computer on the computer keyboard and it hit that and I was like, wow, that's like
I need to
this
find
is
out
so
where that is because I'm going to
funny.
follow every one of my puns with one of those.
It's so funny. Yeah, there you go. Do you have it on yours? Like
I
as a
I don't see it. No.
oh no, I do because
Must
I'm
be
the host.
host privilege. Dad
Yeah.
gummit. Anyway.
But man, so yeah, dude, that's what hit me. I was like, look at this. This is crazy. And just thinking that one headline like that
Hmm.
could be the end of it, right? Could be the end of it. And then radio is, I mean, already we have terrestrial radio stations where a third of the staff, they're down to one third of the staff they used to have,
Hmm.
which means those one third of those people are doing the work of three times the work,
Yeah.
right? And they all got pay cuts. So they're
Yeah.
doing three times as much work as they did 10 years ago for half the money. And it's still bleeding. It's still bleeding, right? And they're
Hmm.
sad in the eyes. They don't want to leave because this is their identity. This is what they want to do. They love radio. Obviously, they're passionate about it. God bless them. And they don't want to leave. But man, the, you know, it costs money for an FCC license.
Yeah.
It costs money to own a building and to keep the electricity and the AC
Hmm.
and the heat going and all that technology
Yeah.
and the power that they have to own to broadcast that signal. You
Hmm.
guys, it costs $1 million a month to keep a radio station on the air.
Whew. Dadgum.
P1 radio station. So, um, if all of a sudden they lose their life support, beer and trucks and the record labels can't do it all.
Yeah.
And that'll be
And when
that'll
trucks figure out that, hey, no one's listening to the commercial, and when people just figure out no one's listening, they're going to start pulling their ads anyway.
yeah. And right now they can still be it's still vague and well, I mean, listen, in the music industry, it's like you talk about that and people are like, no,
Yeah.
radio's still important. Like, is it? Is it? What did that last number one do compared? What was the result, financially speaking, of the last number one that happened last week on Billboard's 100 top 100 versus or top 200 versus, and I mean spins, not sales, versus 20 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like you get the number one, and then here's what happens, right?
Hmm.
More ticket sales, more streams,
Yeah.
more album sales. More, you see the needle move, right? Because of how much exposure you've gotten from
Hmm.
that number one. That needle isn't moving nearly as far right now, but it's still moving,
Yeah.
but it's not
For
moving
sure.
nearly as far. So I think, man, I think that was just when I saw that, I was like, how it just hit me like they got to pass a law on how to try to save it.
Yeah. It's not going to make people listen.
No, it's not.
I mean, sorry, you can't do that yet. Please don't make me listen.
It's not going to work. It's not.
Yeah.
They're not going to listen. And you know what? It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Because the
Mhm.
automakers might be like, you guys are making us go electric. You know,
Yeah.
you're making us retrofit our friggin' plants so
Right.
that we can be ready for when you stroke the pen and make us all go electric. Which, by the way, none of our power grids can handle,
Right.
because none of that's been. I mean, this is not politics right now. Sounds political, but it's not. It's common sense.
Yeah.
You know, I lived in LA for 15 years. I know what a rolling brownout looks like, and it happens all the time.
Man, I know what a rolling brownout looks like too, because I mean, until we got Hazel potty trained,
Yeah,
we had like
kids.
one of those a day, and you can hit that button, the bump. You can hit that now. Thank you. There you go.
But yeah, I mean, dude, like I mean, that's without the electric vehicle mandates. That's just
Mhm.
because AC and hot days. They're like,
Right.
look, the power, and they just, what happens in a rolling brownout, if you're not familiar with that, is they'll take regular sections of quadrants of electricity, like in whatever they call that, like I think it's a quadrant or something, or a sector, and it gets shut off. Your power gets shut off for a little bit of time, and then it frees up the power so they can disperse it elsewhere, and it just keeps they keep bouncing or
Mhm.
rotating around the sectors, because there's not enough power in the system to run the AC, much less charge everybody's car.
Shared
You know,
misery, but we won't go there. But yes,
but the point being, like, how does a radio work there? How's the AM radio work in an electric vehicle car that
right,
can't have power? Because the whole point of the legislation is, if we lose power and cell service, how are these poor people in the rural areas going to get the information?
right.
Well, it ain't going to be from the electric vehicle you're going
N-
to make them buy.
Not for long because that battery's going to run out. You won't be able to recharge it. So a long
Yeah,
term thing, yeah. Short
yeah.
term, sure, if it's an hour or
Well,
two,
and
whatever.
by the
But
way, I mean, like that, the whole idea is it's gonna last as long as your friggin' phone battery is,
yeah, yeah, same thing.
or your
Yeah.
computer battery, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so this is a push from radio. This isn't about what they're spinning it to be. This is radio trying to make some moves. So, you know, guys, the quicker that you get your arms around digital
Hmm.
and realize, like, this is what's going to happen, man. And and by the way, I've got something for you guys if you want it. This is not an affiliation thing. I don't make anything off of this, but I came across this great. I sent it to you, Brent.
Yeah.
This
Hmm.
great. Did you look at it, by the way, at all?
Just a little bit. I haven't had time.
So there's a great. It's a pretty awesome program on, like, mastering the TikTok algorithms and the Reels algorithms, with
Hmm.
how to do the content, how to shoot it, how to, you know how there's a song structure, right?
Hmm.
Like, there's song structures that everybody plays in because the structure works. How to structure your content so that it works, from this company of three people that consistently will open up like a new TikTok account, and they're getting like 6 and 7 figure views on the first, second, and third pieces of content that they post,
Wow.
because they know how to work the algorithm. The course is really inexpensive. It's like $58. If you want a link to it, I'll put it in the show notes.
Hmm.
And I got it. I think it's brilliant. I mean, it's. I think everybody needs to see this. Like,
Hmm.
it's going to get you going on the right way. It shows a bunch of different structures, shows you how to shoot it, how to edit it, and the different things that keep people listening. Essentially, here's the headline. You know, the algorithm, especially on TikTok, is about three things: watch time, and watch time. And
Yeah.
so it's all about how to, create that watch time to make that happen. And then you can go and, I just got a call from Lexi,
Hmm.
uh, a text from Lexi a little while ago. She just had her first million view piece of content on
Awesome.
TikTok. So she's crushing it with this. So again, I'm not selling this. This is just a company that I found, and I thought it was like really amazing. And if you
Hmm.
want that, go and get it. But guys, I this has me a little bit worried in some ways, because
Hmm.
I'm all about digital. But man, if radio falls out too fast,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that's going to mean for the music industry, but it may be something where they're forced to come to the guys like me with 10,000 hours and be like, well, now we don't have a choice,
Yeah.
and since the radio promo department's already out of a job at the label anyway,
Hmm.
now I don't have to be I don't have to be the hard guy. I don't have to be the bad guy.
Right. Yeah. You don't have
At
to
the
tell them
same
to
way they
fire their
feel,
promo department,
maybe
the
it's a good
radio.
thing, but it's going to be violent.
Mhm.
That's it. So that's, I don't know. You got anything else you want to add to
Well,
that?
I just think it's interesting that they'll need to, and I think it will be a good thing ultimately for labels. This may push them to go. You know what? we got to go to digital because radio is gone. Okay, the cheese has been moved, and so therefore we need digital marketing teams. And guess what? We're going to start finding out who our listeners are if we do our own platform and do our own marketing and stop going through Spotify. And this may push them to do their own streaming like Paramount Plus and NBC Peacock
I
and
never thought
Netflix.
about it like
And they
that.
may go, okay, well, this is
Spotify thing. Yeah.
we stopped chasing radio because it's gone. Let's go ahead and go in and find out who our customers are, and let's just go do the digital thing because we have to.
Right.
Or if they're going to be paying for it to drive people to Spotify, they may go, why do we spend all this money to send these people to Spotify and we don't even know who they are? Maybe we should start finding who they are. How can we do this? And so I think it could end up
And
being
they'll
a
have to
good
make
thing.
that change. I mean, guys, you can't take your single to radio if the radio station can't keep the lights on.
Right, yeah.
But that's it. I mean, it's that stupidly simple.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting there. We've been talking about this, Brent, for years now,
Mm-hmm.
and we're getting there now. And it seems like it's coming sooner than I thought it might come.
Yeah.
It might be another year, maybe two, but I don't think it's just going to be like we're all going to move over to here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be, we're going to keep going to radio until the bottom falls out, until the wheels fall
Yeah.
off. And then when it does, then we're going to be forced to go over here. And what will that look like? So the sooner that's the opportunity, guys, because then guess what? Hold on. Dig this. This just hit me right now. Let's just dream with me for a second. The bottom falls out of radio.
Mm-hmm.
And now everybody's going to compete on digital.
Yep.
So right there, all of a sudden, the traffic's going to get worse, right? But I promise you, if you're working on this now, if you're trying to get your 10,000 hours now on how to do that, you have now, it doesn't matter how much money the labels have. They don't know how to spend it on digital. They don't know what they're doing on digital, or they would be doing it now because they've been chasing radio. So guess what? The bottom falls out of radio. That's the great equalizer for a moment in time.
Yeah.
Can you see that? Does that make sense?
And you can have first mover advantage and already have some of that expertise built in because you're already getting your fans. And that's part of it too. If it's a digital land grab, go get your fans now. Know who they are before everybody else starts coming in.
Because you know what? Like if they can't figure out how to take all the new artists and a lot of the new artists on labels anyway are there because they've already figured out how to be good on digital platforms. But the radio just will be out of the picture. And so the big artists that you've been competing on, the big artists, I mean, the Garths, the Brett Elfridges, the big names, the big pop names, the big country names, the big rap names, if they can't do it digitally, you're going to win.
Yeah.
Are you going to compete?
Remember, just recently we
Their
had that
platform will be gone. I mean, wow.
Yeah, I know. We had episode 426, I think, was an interview with Craig Campbell, who's been on labels and had hits, and now he's independent. And we asked him, "Hey, what would be intriguing to you, a possibility of signing with a label again? What would draw you in?" And he said two things: radio and awards block voting. Right. Yeah. So, what would be the point of a label if you no longer have radio? They would need to be marketing companies. They'd have to find a way to be digital marketers, right? To go, we can get you a bazillion streams and awards block voting. Like they're gonna have to, what's their value prop? Why go to them? It's gonna be, so congratulations, Johnny. You don't have block voting, but you're a label, right? With digital marketing. That's what they're going to be. And because they don't need them as much for the bank, although because recording the quality product has gotten cheaper.
That's right.
And if there could be tour support and that kind of stuff, but if it's not radio, they got to find a new way to go pick me.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know where it's going to land, but it's interesting.
That's a big deal, man. That is a big deal. If that happens, like if that law doesn't pass and the cars drop radio, it's a whole new world.
And even if the law passes, no one's going to be. It's going to go away anyway.
Yeah,
a little slower. It's going to delay what's probably the inevitable.
They still go on with the EV mandates. It's not going to be too long before the bloom comes off of that rose.
Yeah. So
just us poor people out in the rural areas here that can't spell our own names and got no teeth. We just figured out that AM radio doesn't work in an electric car if the battery ain't charged.
Right, exactly. But what's going to happen to the next Cody Johnson, which again, we don't know the particulars of his deal, or the Craig Campbell or whoever going, okay, I want a number one at radio. Like, you guys can take me to radio. If they go, well, that's not really a thing anymore. How are they going to woo those people like the Cody Johnsons that have, or the Granger Smiths before him,
Good
who
point. Good
did
point.
it
Oh,
and
you know
go,
what else? On that note, hold on, let me springboard off of that. On that note, you know, one reason why radio is so attractive is because even though it sucks and it's not promoting well, it still pays the same publishing.
oh yeah. I mean, that's gonna have a cascade effect on the songwriting business, because that's the
Still
one
pays
place
the
where
same
people are still
publishing
making
cost.
serious
And how
money.
long is that going to last? Because now, if all the hit songs are going to be like, well, if I can't, back to our Anthony's episode last week,
Anthony Smith,
Anthony Smith, if I can't,
427.
I can't get the song on radio and make the money that way with a number one or a top 10, and we're going to have to go to Disney, ain't going to work. So I'm either going to have to go, buy a farm or start a siding company or something,
Yeah.
or you're going to find a better way to pay me. And then everything will have to be restructured. But for the labels too, because the money isn't, all of a sudden that cash register will be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to have to get more for everybody out of the cash register, this other cash register that we have, where songwriters are currently getting royally screwed.
Yeah. So, which may happen if the labels start doing their own thing. Who knows? I mean, they definitely don't want to pay. They don't want to pay songwriters any more than anyone else who isn't a songwriter wants to pay songwriters. They want to keep their. Oh, okay. Well, we got a tornado siren going off here, so I'm going to sign off here.
All right. Well, we're done anyway. All right, guys. Well, listen, that takes us to the end of the Kill or Climb episode. Y'all stay safe out there in the tornadoes and everything like that. And this podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.